Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory 8 powered by VIS. I'm your host, Dragonborn, and here joining me is the nominee, and we are looking to get set right in to the off-stream match. That's right, guys. You're tuning in to the off-stream match that is going on in parallel to the Vainglory 8 matches happening on the main channel. This is the off-stream one. The nominee, man, we've got a pretty awesome match actually in front of us.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So obviously we have Hammers versus Rogue, who have been very back and forth, both in the Challengers games and coming into the actual VG8 tournament play. So this ought to be a pretty exciting game to cast, as well as this match particularly could set aside, you know, for the rest of this weekend at least, for either one of these teams to really lock in enough points that they're basically guaranteed to go to the Unified Championship. So that's what makes this game the most exciting to me.
This is big. I don't think it locks them in because the other team could
get all the way to the end, but
it depends. It depends on the outcome. If like they win all, if they win it all, we'll have to see though. This is gonna be close. I actually expect this to be possibly a 3-game match. We had a 3-game series in EU. It was very, very exciting, very close. This could be another one as well.
The draft
let's get started here right now as we look to get in. So let's jump in. Game number 1. This is the draft. Rogue versus Hollywood Hammers. As we are starting off here, getting to the bands as Rogue starts on A side.
Yeah, and a Grace band comes quickly off the table, so there very likely be a Lyra band coming out of Hammers, or maybe even the Baron to take that away from Hammy. Now, they could allow the Lyra through here and then go with a composition that's very poke-heavy to really just blow through that front line. So maybe like a Kestrel or a you know, a Samuel, anything that can really just cause Lyra to have to use her abilities to keep herself alive. Instead, it's the Catherine that comes through.
And I actually like this because, you know, if the Baron shows up on the table, and this actually, Rogue should definitely consider taking the Baron, Hollywood Hammers gets the healer, right? Because Catherine's off, that's one of the main counters. Instead, Rogue goes with the Lyra, which is still a great support into the Baron. But I think with no Catherine on the board and no Grace and just Lyra, I think if you're Hammers, I think you think about taking either the Baron or the Idris and banning the other one.
Yeah, you definitely got to consider it as Hammers. You could ban away the, you could obviously just ban away the Baron if you wanted to pick something up here that's a little on the flexible side. You know, you could go a Glaive. You could go that Kestrel we were talking about. We could even pick up an Arden realistically here. It's kind of an interesting spot. So they do go with the Glaive. And this is where I definitely think they need to ban away the Baron. And there it is right there. So we do have the Glaive that can be flexed realistically into any of the positions. He does currently function the best in the lane as that weapon carry, but he can play the jungle if need be. We know Starting is very known for his Celeste. We haven't seen him play it in a while, but definitely something that Hammers could pull out if they wanted to pick up like an Arden here to really secure that position. But we also have the Baptiste, which we've seen Afro play a couple times now as well. So that's another very flexible pick to keep the enemy guessing here.
Yeah, we've actually seen Starting play a lot of Glaive in the lane as well. In fact, this is a hero he's been using a lot just overall in ranks and queues. He is very, very strong in this lane Glaive, so it's a flex play, but it is one where, you know, it's powerful in the jungle or in the lane. So either way, Vox coming out, likely going to be now starting all over on the Vox, so they have flex now this to be either support or jungle. With support, pretty unlikely.
Yeah, the Glaive, to me, almost, depending on the way the draft goes here for Rogue, you almost kind of have to consider putting it in the captain position now that you've got both of them locked in, especially since the Crystal Glaive has really fallen off quite a bit in its popularity. not that it had any horribly huge changes. There were some additional cooldown times put onto Glaive, so it is a Kestrel now locked in and a Samuel. So now this is something that we actually saw Hammers run early on in the VG8 when they really started to come back with the performance. And it is a very devastating composition, especially when paired with that Lyra, who can make it very difficult for a Glaive to engage onto the backline.
It can be, right? Like, you know, those active camos, and when you have like a Drifting Darkness up, there's just a lot there's a lot of damage that you're like literally jumping into. So positioning would be very important, and how you engage. The only thing that Glaive has, though, is the disengage with the Afterburn. Instead of using it less offensively, using it defensively, which means you can get in, you know, with boots and then jump out, which could be very useful. Baptiste is going to be... Now, we could... Yeah, this is probably going to be likely a Roam Baptiste, right, Dave? Because it could be flexed technically into the jungle as well.
It could. I want to say personally that the Glaive is probably the better jungler in this scenario.
I agree. I think so too.
Just because both Samuel and Kestrel outrange the Baptiste naturally. However, it does look like Afro is going to be on the Glaive, so it is going to be a Captain Glaive. Maybe just looking to reposition somebody into the you know, what we'd like to call the kill zone, where the Glaive and the Baptiste will be able to jump them very quickly.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's an interesting development. Is from a support perspective, of course. And I think one of the reasons that is you're looking at it and you're like, all right, there is a healer, so they could have gone double Poison Shiv, but it's not something you typically would go. Although I would have loved to have seen a double weapon in this case. I think having the Tension Bow on the Vox and the Glaive and double Poison Shiv, that composition we've seen work in some circumstances. But we're getting into the game, everybody. Day, let's jump right in as we get to the action here. Rogue versus Hollywood Hammers, game number 1. So much is on the line. You guys... I really hope I wish I could like let everyone know that this game is happening on the off-stream match, because, Day, this is probably the second most important match to happen in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a you know, deciding game, because again, if one of these teams can go all the way to the end, they essentially lock in points to make it all the way to the unified finals, just because it'll put them ahead of enough teams that not all of the teams going into week 3 will be able to acquire enough points to pass them. That's what makes it so difficult to really think about this game, because, you know, if Rogue can go all the way to the end and win this whole weekend, or if Hammers can go all the way to the end and win this whole weekend, then they're in a pretty safe spot. Yep.
Well, we're getting to the action here. Nice rotation through to take that Elder Treant. We saw out of Rogue, so good job on them. You know, definitely be a little aggressive. 3-man. We see a lot of 3-man push, not to fully engage into the jungle, but just to get some of that counter jungling off and get some momentum here. Deny the enemy team some of it. But gold is even right now. Like no major plays yet by either team to really get a massive advantage. Samuel's actually already backing, so Stormy Cross. Now, Stormy Cross coming in for Rogue here for this season. Talk a little bit about this, Day, because he is new to this Vainglory 8 tier.
Yeah, he, you know, had a absolutely huge performance, you know, coming into this split, especially going into TSM. He had an absolutely just beautiful performance on both Baptiste and onto that Crystal Blackfeather. So he's definitely a player that can compete at the top. Maybe Rogue, you know, was able to surprise TSM just because there's not as much game data on them, just because there haven't been quite as many double ban draft days for them. But, you know, huge performance from this guy. You know, Pon has some pretty big shoes to fill, and I think he did an absolutely great job doing so.
No, that's absolutely true. And Rogue, actually, I like their rotations here early, Day. They've been able to get the Elder Treant 2 times in a row, keeping things so that with that, because of that, they have a little bit of a gold lead, just a very, very slight lead here, which could be huge. Afro going in pretty deep, going to take some shots, though. Mouseverk's going to redirect onto the Baptiste, actually trying to get that Treant, but Archaic is the one who takes it. There's a nice stun, and of course, Dane's down, but it doesn't matter because they're able to fight completely in it. But First Blood is going to go over to Rogue, and unfortunately, they're not able to get the kill on the Stormy Cross either. Starting all over, may have been caught out here. He's got to be careful. One more shot will do it. Yeah, that's going to be... wow. Okay, he almost got away. But not a great engagement from Hammers early, man. Like, they're going to the jungle, not able to get the kill, and unfortunately giving up too. Day? Did I lose him?
yeah, sorry about that. That was a beautiful timing from Evil there on that on the bright bulwark, because if Starting would have been able to use his Sonic Zoom just to get into range of Stormy Cross there, that most likely would have been a fight going over to Hammers, but he wasn't able to use that gap closing ability. It's short distance, but one basic attack away would have been able to find it. So that's 2 going on over to Rogue, and actually Evil had this fountain now at 3 minutes. So that really just goes to show you how well they've done on their gold management. Now, obviously, the 2 kills going over to him helped, but I mean, definitely something that you got to make note of. A 3-minute fountain is absolutely huge for Rogue.
Yeah, it was, and they were able to get some of that farm we were talking about, those double takes on the other tree end. A nice rotation, of course, so that he was able to share it. It wasn't like just solo. Hammers, though, it's still fine. It's just a 500 gold difference here. It's so early. And of course, you are talking about a Vox, and starting all over is Vox nonetheless. So you got to be careful if you're Rogue, not to get too cocky. You definitely want to make sure you push objectives early when you've got this lead. And I like what they're doing here, poking out Afro. He's going to have to disengage. They've got a Lyra, so they're going to stay up plenty of health. Rogue in a great shape to start putting pressure onto this turret. And with this wave, it looks like they are going to go start pushing in right now.
Yeah, they definitely have a really good siege comp, especially with the fact that Lyra can help them sustain so easily. This is literally going to come down to if Playboy Afro can make a absolutely beautiful afterburn into Vox and into the Baptiste and just delete somebody, because again, the sustain that Rogue is going to have going through this game it's going to be the game changer here. This is such a just devastating composition, especially if you can poke out the enemies, force them back, and then just siege the turret. You can see we saw it earlier with the Samuel, in Europe. We saw in 9 minutes, the first 3 lane turrets were down. So that's really the power of the Samuel being able to rotate up with a healer.
Yeah, absolutely. The rotation's crisp and clean at that, as we continue to move through here. Gold's about 1,000. Oh no, about dead even actually. My apologies, and that's a lot in part due to just making sure they stay up on farm here. You will see Starting All Over has a 10 CS lead over Hammy, and that's not necessarily surprising. Starting All Over on a Vox specifically is going to be able to farm and last hit very effectively, but Hammy, he just needs to stay within striking distance of the gold, because and I think he has the gold advantage because of the early kills as well. He really doesn't need to worry too much about that. He's going to do a lot of damage once he gets online with a second tier 3 item.
Yeah, well, even just the Sorrow Blade in general on Kestrel, as she gets more points into those Glimmer shots, they do scale off of weapon power more than just a basic attack. So realistically, once we get to level 5, I believe it's 130% of weapon power. So those Glimmer shots are really going to start to hurt here as this game moves on.
Yeah, they really are. Hammy just needs to be patient, and of course they don't want him to give over any needless kills here. Otherwise, they could easily drop into a gold deficit. So they got to be careful. Starting Over takes a few shots right there, and here comes some poke. This is one thing that Rogue could do a lot of poke, but they got to be careful. Nice afterburn goes in, and down goes Afro, and just like that. I'm sorry, Stormy Cross. My apologies. Stormy Cross dropping as a really good setup by Afro to get them into that play. This is one thing, like the afterburn paired with the Baptiste's Ordain is really hard, because even if you try to avoid the stun, you're going to get punted right into it. So really nice heads up play by Hammers in that engage.
I think the way the play pretty much has to go if Hammers wants to succeed here is the afterburn has to come out and then the Ordain has to be dropped. A huge afterburn out of Playboy Afro there. Hammers finds another kill, and now Starting All Over is looking to get some damage down onto Stormy Cross, but if he's not careful, he's also going to drop. And now, being so low on energy, this is really dangerous looking for Hammers, and that's going to be Playboy Afro dropping. Oh, a good block comes through. If Stormy Cross can find a Malice Divert, actually just the Corrupted Genius will take him down. And that is going to be a 3rd kill going over to Rogue.
Oh, that could have been way worse. Yeah, that could have been way worse, but he does, they do get the kill. That almost went with a double kill. Starting All Over was really, really low as well. So definitely
looking pretty back and forth right now. Starting should be able to heal up pretty much to full health off of this triple wave incoming here. That's going to give Evol an opportunity to recall. Now has the Crucible built for his team. So really showing that those early kills onto the Lyra have a bit of advantage in the captain position here, as Afro is still a little ways away from completing his Crucible of his own. So Hammy's sitting on about 1,150 gold. Not sure if we have a disconnect here or if he's just playing it safe. Looks like he's just playing it safe, not wanting to get ganked by that glaive again. We know how devastating it can be for both of these squishy heroes, both Stormy Cross and Hammy on the Kestrel and Samuel. Very squishy. If they get repositioned into a bad spot, then it's most likely going to be a kill going on over to Hammers just because of just the sheer amount of damage that a Vox and a Baptiste can put out.
Yeah, I mean, this is true, and we've seen how effective, like, and with the Lyra, this is something that we need to, even with the Poison Shiv, I think having the double weapon comp would have been effective in, is because there's so much heal that when they get on the targets, when they start doing damage, they heal back up so quickly. Nice after active camo stun, as Afro does take a lot of that damage, but Starting All Over gets weak too, but right into the Starting All Over's face. Can he survive it? He does. Nice Fountain keeps him alive as they look to keep pushing. Now it is a 2v3 favoring Hammers as they're going to rotate and push towards the second lane turret here. Afro's done a great job, man. This guy has really been a Cinderella story as far as supports in the Vainglory 8. He has gone from struggling a little bit in the early weeks to be one of, arguably probably the best support in these clutch situations, and he's played about everything that we've been able to see. So they are looking to possibly get a gank here. Hammer's thinking maybe they could just hang in this bush for a while, as Hammy is, just going to waltz by here, unknowing that this is a very dangerous situation. Oh, actually, they're going to try to go for Stormy Cross. Great target. Can't really get away. There's the Ordained. Stuns up. Afterbird, he's dead. And now they're going to focus on to the rest of the two teammates.
Yeah, and that's another good pick, because that's going to give away this Sentry and then also probably part of the Rogue Jungle over to Hammers if they decide to rotate down and through. Starting All Over! Oh my goodness!
Wow!
Absolutely huge damage for him, going a little too far. Evol's able to get a Fountain off. Hammy is going to live, and that's going to be a fourth kill going on over to the side of Rogue, and Hammy is going to get healed up by this Imperial Sigil. Obviously, with Lyra having that Crucible, it's going to have a lot of healing, so that's going to put him in a very safe spot. And Hammy's actually gone into a breaking point build here on this Kestrel, so that's going to be pretty interesting, going for more of a basic attack build than the Glimmer Shot build that we normally see out of Kestrels. So that's looking like he's going to be interested in dueling out Starting All Over as opposed to just trying to poke people out.
Yeah,
that's actually going to make it a little bit easier for Afro in the front line.
So, and this is classic Starting All Over. He loves to play on the edge of a knife, taking chances. I think at that time, a little bit too aggressive and too dangerous. The rest of his team didn't have enough health, so Glaive couldn't go in to absorb any damage. At least he could have, but he would have sacrificed his own life. That might have been actually the right play, but unfortunately, his team wasn't on the same page. And as impressive as that block out of the active camo was, it was not, a position that he could get himself out of, even if he had gotten the kill. So a little risky on this. On the end of Josh. Coming up to the lane, again, all teams are starting to descend. And this is like something we've seen pretty consistently, is these two teams love to just body each other up here in these between the lane and the jungle bushes. As I think Hammers, they still feel pretty confident. They've got an objective lead, they've got a gold lead, looking to maybe push into the second turret.
Yeah, they definitely have a bit of a lead, but again, Samuel's going to take a little bit of time really to come online, as well as Kestrel. Whereas Baptiste Glaive is a little bit more of an early composition, and a good afterburn there, and that's another kill. And now Starting All Over, looking to get a kill onto Evol, and Hammy is so dangerously low right now. That's an ace going over to Hammers, and that is very likely going to be a turret as well as going down to the gold mine after rotating through the jungle. Or they might just look to push two turrets.
Well, they already got the Crystal Sentry right before that fight. There's really not much other than a few tree ends that they might want to take. They're going to easily be able to clear those. So, two major objectives taken. Gold Mine is also still available if they choose to take it. They're going to have a really strong jungle presence here. So, they could go for that as well, even with Rogue coming in, possibly contesting. I think they have definitely more damage. You're going to see Starting All Over and company. They're probably going to shop here as well. But yeah, man, I mean, this is so far Hammers looking very crisp here in the mid game. They've really been able to handle these team fights better after, now not getting caught out as much, and after that early game pressure from the Samuel starting to dwindle.
Yeah, and again, we discussed how Starting All Over just is on this Vox. We've seen him with a miraculous 3v1 last weekend, so definitely a hero that is very good for him. Afro now has the boots completed, the war treads, so that's going to give his team a lot more ability to hard engage onto the enemies if anybody's out of position. An Afterburn comes out, punts him the wrong way, though. And man, starting going incredibly deep. They find the kill. This is likely going to be Evol dying now as well.
Yeah, he's pretty low.
That's a dead Evol, and that's very likely going to be another Crystal Sentry life being taken. And you know, this gold mine at 13 minutes hasn't been taken yet. That's kind of why I thought Hammers might be looking to rotate down to it after that first turret, just because the gold miner disappears. That turret's always going to be there for you to take the gold, especially if you develop a lead like Hammers is right now. You know, sitting at around 7,000, and it looks like Hammers might be able to find Hammy.
Ooh, nice Crucible.
They do.
Yeah, they do, and they really wanted that kill because although they don't get the ace, they stagnate now the power of Rogue. Rogue really can't contest, so that means they can go for gold mine, they go for objective, starting all over, can kind of poke here without worrying about necessarily getting shut down from an aggression of all three members. 9 seconds for him to come up. You do see Afro and Archaic taking this gold mine. And Hammers, man, looking clean. This has been a trend since Split 2. They came out of challenge battles and they've just been dominating, and it's really impressive stuff.
Yeah, I know that they've really put a lot more time into practicing is one of the big things. A lot of the players had some other engagements in the beginning of the first split that, you know, prevented them from maybe playing together as much as they would have liked to. And let me tell you, they have been looking absolutely amazing going now into the second split. They're taking a absolutely massive lead over Rogue here. And getting this Vox online so early, I mean, starting already has his 3 offensive items completed, as well as a tier 3 armor and a tier 3 shield. And coming up on enough gold to reinfuse, and there it is right there. Kraken is now on the board. And if Hammers could find one good fight here, they could close out this game early.
They absolutely could. They're looking to do that. Kraken, it's going to take a bit of time, and of course you have to be careful. You've got a decent amount of poke here, as well as the one-shot one kill you got to contest for. So right now, looking to just get vision on the enemy team and re-engage if they can. That's exactly what they're going to do. Portal's still up. Can they get in on time? There's a nice afterburn. Stuns away, but actually misses. Doesn't connect. Sleep comes in, puts Archaic to sleep, so they're down 1 man. I don't know if Rogue knew that. And now they're going to be able to turn their attention. Look at all that damage. Hammy is dishing out. Active Camo comes out again, so they got to be careful re-engaging.
Oh, starting! Oh my god, starting on the back line there. They're actually now going to find Hammy, and if they can find Evol here, if starting can find Evol, then that's looking very good for Hammers. Obviously, the Crystal Sentry is going to come over here. That is an ace, and Hammers might just look to push down a couple turrets here. It looks like Archaic and Afro are going to go ahead and do that. I'm actually surprised they didn't just have one person with the death timers as low as they are. Samuel's coming up right now. This could be a little bit risky if they overstay.
It could be. They're going to be able to push here. Here comes Sam. I think they just get these 2 turrets down before Kestrel comes up. It's close. Here comes the damage. They got to be so careful. So much poke. But it looks like Hammers got this. Game 1, Hollywood Hammers taking it away from Rogue. And it probably the most pivotal game of this week. One of the most pivotal games. We've had so many. Immortals, of course, taking 2-0 to TFSM. Probably number 1 for at least that organization. But deciding who is going to go to live finals between these 2 organizations, absolutely monstrous that Hammers could at least get 1 point here, and even better if they could get more. So congratulations to Hammers for game 1, but we've got another game to go. This is a best of 3, guys, and this could go either way.
Yeah, and that was a really good split-second decision from Hammers there to just ignore the Kraken and push. You know, again, they focused down the turrets pretty evenly, and they had a double ace minion wave as well that really helped them get through. So, you know, really well played by Hammers there. That is definitely a well-needed point for them.
Absolutely.
And especially to keep the closest team under them down is really the advantage that Hammers has taken here.
Absolutely. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to get into game number 2 here, so don't go anywhere. Your off-stream Vainglory 8 match is just going to get started here with game number 2 underway.
$14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome back, everybody. We're getting ready for game number 2 here. You guys are tuning into the Vainglory, powered by this. As we look to get started here, draft is about to get ready as well, Denominate. Hammer's looking very good, but we know this Rogue roster has a lot of potential. Talk to me a little bit about what we expect Rogue to be able to pull out here. Like, you know, we saw that composition. It wasn't awful looking for Rogue, but I think what really was impressive was the fact that Hammer's managed to do a double flex for the first 2 picks, right? Like, you didn't really know the positions. And that, I think, allowed them the flexibility to end up getting a draft where Afro on this glaive was able to shut down that Samuel, right? Like, you know, as a weapon glaive, you don't have as much defense. It's a little risky. But, you know, when you talk about a defensive glaive, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, and he played it really well is really what it came down to. And I think, you know, watching Stormy Cross's performance against Team Solo Mid and their other games since he's been on the team, he really just does better on those in-your-face kind of style Crystal Junglers. So ideally, they'd probably like to get him on something like the Black Feather or like that Baptiste that he had such a good performance in. It just, to me, it looked like he was struggling a little bit trying to play from the back line, is my personal opinion at least. So the Grace and the Catherine come off the board early here. Hammers pick up the Lyra. So this is one of those healers now on the table. Adagio definitely having fallen off of that captain position. This is kind of a difficult spot for Rogue. You have to go with something flexible here that'll make Hammers commit to something that you want them to on their side of the draft, so that you can take that last pick as the real counter that you want. Yeah,
that's what Hammers did so well last game, was not showing their hand, not just through the first pick, but through the second as well, which is pretty impressive.
Well, the second pick was the Vox, and we kind of knew where that was going, but the glaive flexing into the captain position is something that players haven't really seen in such a long time. So it's something that maybe people aren't as comfortable with, as well as that afterburn. Afro particularly wasted no time. He afterburned in, and almost every time immediately punted somebody away, didn't give him an opportunity really to reflex block. And that's really where that repositioning came into effect. If you afterburn in and you dilly-dally and waste too much time trying to get somebody down with that afterburn, then they're just going to reflex block it, and then you've lost your advantage. You've literally lost everything that you bring to the fight. The
good old Instapunt is definitely something that, you know, pro players got pretty good at. Idris is going to be the ban. I think it's a smart ban. You don't want to risk it now, because you're going to be getting a weapon carry potentially, and you have the choice of Vox or Baron, depending on if Hollywood Hammers decides to ban one of those. You get the other one. They are going to ban the Baron, so now Rogue, they're going to probably take the Vox in this circumstance. Otherwise, they could take the
very likely going to take the Vox just because of Vox's late game potential. Obviously, the Baron ban's going to come through. Rogue banned away the Idris. We know Hammy has one of the better Barons in North America, at least in my opinion. They've used a lot of their time, though, trying to make these first 2 picks. Maybe a disconnect. Actually, there comes the glaive. So this is really that double flex that we have now, because the glaive can play in any of the 3 positions. The Baptiste is pretty much going to be singled out to the jungle or the captain position. I don't see any lane Baptistes coming through anytime soon. I mean, I'd be pretty impressed if it happened, but I don't think it's going to.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking their time.
A lot of flexibility for sure.
Yeah, they're taking their time. It's possible that you know, they could. The lane glaive is something we have seen quite a bit, actually. So that's a realistic outcome.
And it looks like Hammers is going to go for that Vox. So now they have this Vox Lyra composition, which is going to be incredibly deadly. Obviously, Vox is going to go that Poison Shiv first item. He's going to have his own sustain, as well as having Lyra in the lane with him is really going to keep him in a safe position, full on health, ready for a fight whenever it may need be. It's going to come down to the, you know, so far how the draft is going, this is going to be all on the glaive on the side of Rogue here. If he's able to get good repositions down, as we've seen in the last game, whether it's the captain glaive or if it's lane glaive, And actually, this is really interesting because we haven't seen Archaic on too much Celeste. We've seen him play a lot of Baptiste. We've seen him play some Blackfeather. We've seen him play a lot of Samuel. We haven't really seen him much on the Celeste for quite some time. I think he played it a little bit in the Vis Pro, but not so much really as we got into the VG8. So here's this Crystal Blackfeather now that, well, at least what I would think to be is going to be a Crystal Blackfeather going on to Stormy Cross, and then that Glaive moving into the lane with the Rome Baptiste. This is going to be a pretty risky scenario, actually, for Rogue. That Bright Bulwark goes down, and it's really going to limit what the Glaive and what the Blackfeather are able to do. The Afterburn's not going to be able to come out. The Rose Offensive, if he's already into the Bright Bulwark, is not going to be able to come out, as well as the Faint of Heart. So if Rogue makes an engagement, they have to do it when the Bulwark is down. Otherwise, they're going to get shut down. Celeste is going to be able to use the Supernovas, use the Core Collapse, possibly get a double Core Collapse down. And obviously, Starting is going to have his freedom of movement at that point. So this is going to be interesting. And indeed, it is going to be the Rome Baptiste, Hammy in the lane with this Glaive, which we've seen him play with some pretty phenomenal success here in the past. And again, Stormy Cross, such a huge performance on Crystal Blackfeather into Team Solo Mid. That first week was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning here that, you know, for their success here, Rogue could easily win this because they're kind of slippery, and Celeste is a skill shot based hero that really requires like you staying in one position. You know, if you're moving around too fast and you're really good at dodging those Heliogenesis and Core Collapses, it might be kind of hard. So we're gonna get into this game, guys. It has started. Game number 2. Let's take it away. The nominee. This is it, man. This is really huge for Rogue. Losing this means Hammers has the tiebreaker as well as a 3-point lead, I believe, over Rogue. Or do I have that reversed? Is it like is it a 1-point lead? Gotta look at the standings here.
Well, without the point that Hammers just got, it's 9-8. So this is going to put Hammers at 10, and then depending on how this game goes, Rogue could pull up a 9th point, or Hammers could even just pull in an 11th point and pass Tempo Storm. So definitely an important game for Hammers and Rogue here. Again, whichever one goes on has an opportunity to pick up points in their next match, and then have an opportunity to pick up points in the 3rd or the 1st, 2nd place match. Just depending on if they are able to make it through the 2nd round on Sunday. So definitely an important match for both of these teams because there's such a huge opportunity for them to pick up points this weekend.
No, absolutely. All right, so jumping in down to Hammers now, finding as a nice 2v2 engage. Core Collapse misses, and there's an Ordain, traps Archaic, but I don't think he's going to be too worried as they back and forth here. Stormy Cross ends up taking the most amount of damage, so it's just going to be Rogue disengaging here, starting all over, rotates down.
Yeah, and with that rotation, they're going to look here to get this Elder Treant. Stormy Cross maybe looking like he was thinking about coming in to contest that, not quite having the range on that on point yet, and the stun available for Archaic would have been absolutely devastating if he was able to land it. So Starting is going to rotate back up to lane now. Very, very slight gold lead for the side of Rogue just because of the rotation from Starting, making sure his team was safe. Afro not quite level 2, and the Ordain is available now for Evol. And we know how much damage this Baptiste can do in the early game just because of his heroic perk. You stack up those 4 soul shards from his Reap, and you can really, really do a lot of damage despite not having any crystal power. And now Hammer's looking to get a little bit of poke damage down onto Evol here, and they don't have the same sustain this game since they don't have that Lyra available to them. Archaic looking to recall now, going to pick up some additional crystal power as well as some energy regeneration. Starting looking just to clean up a little bit of this wave here,
just
obviously.
Farm. Yeah, no real rush. I mean, this is pretty early, and Voxes, you typically aren't overly aggressive with the lane Vox. There's no burst early, and you really need a couple items to really start dishing out a huge amount of damage while also having sustain. And Vox doesn't have either of those really. He's really great though at that low-key harass where you're just constantly applying small chunks of little bit of resonance damage for like, a few rotation of lanes, and that's where you usually can pressure the laner. But definitely nothing too aggressive. Right off the bat, we do see a nice 1v1 engagement between Stormy and Archaic, with Archaic actually getting a little bit of an upper hand here. There's another Heliogenesis to land, so Stormy Cross going in, but might have been a huge mistake as he's going to get core collapsed. Oh, that's not looking good, but it is going to be a nice Ordain. Story Cross so low. Oh, there it is. There's the kill.
Those basic attacks from Celeste will follow you to the end of the fold, and that last attack from Archaic is able to clean up First Blood, and that's going to accelerate this Celeste really getting to the late game, especially if he can steal away this farm here. It does look like it goes over to Rogue, though.
Archaic took a needless Ordained stun. I mean, he could have just stayed there and gotten for the farm. I think maybe a little bit misguessed on that edge of there. Like, I thought I don't know, maybe he didn't think he tapped
or
there.
Who it was down on.
Or maybe, yeah. That's what makes the Ordained actually so effective, is you actually don't know who it's used for. You usually see this, like, two players are like, all right, is it me, is it you? It could be a very effective strategy, but the jungle has intensified Denominate. And with that, we're going to finally start to see some big shop items, and of course, starting all over, he's got the Poison Shiv. Crucible comes first on Afro, so that's really interesting, and that's definitely a nod to the amount of crowd control between Hammy and Evol.
It could be some of the crowd control, as well as this is something that Rekt really got known for back when he played for Gangstars. You go with the Crucible first, just has more health naturally built into it than the Fountain does, so it does make your Imperial Sigil heal a lot more in the early game. And now with that, Archaic is looking to rotate up here and find a little bit of damage. A good on point coming out of Stormy Cross does get a bit of a chunk damage down there, but the Imperial Sigil coming out of Afro, again, the additional healing coming out of the Imperial Sigil is absolutely huge, and a good chain CC coming out of Rogue there does find starting, so they even out this game in a 1-to-1 scenario, and Rogue is a little bit hurt here, but obviously Hammy with the Book of Eulogies, as well as having Evol here with the Iron Guard contract, they should be able to sustain pretty easily. Again, it's all about the repositioning that Hammy is going to be able to do on this glaive, and last fight was absolutely huge for them. So
yeah, that was
a gold lead for Rogue right now.
That was kind of big, but they did have to burn a fountain in the process, so that's going to be down for a little bit longer. I don't know if they're going to get engagement off before that comes back online, so they're probably going to be fine. But that's kind of one of the risks for Afro, to have that Crucible and to not really use it effectively in that fight. Makes it kind of an unfortunate first purchase.
Well, he used it on himself when Hammy afterburned him into the wall. He used the Crucible to block the stun so he could get out to safety, so it actually wasn't available for that fight. Starting gets a lot of damage down onto Stormy Cross, and that's going to be Rogue having to recall now. Actually, they're going to wait since Hammy is now here, has that afterburn available. Starting all over does take a turret shot there, looking to find a little bit of damage there onto Stormy Cross. And man, is he going to find it, but he gets punted underneath the turret. And that is another kill now going over to the side of Rogue. The Fountain is burned. Archaic is very healthy still. But this is starting to look pretty good for Rogue. They're using this glaive really effectively. Archaic does get to steal away a little bit of farm there, and that is now a level 7 Celeste, one level away from those Heliogenesis that'll really start to do a lot of damage, especially with the additional range that they'll have once that overdrive is finished. Starting to miss out on a couple farm here. Shouldn't miss too much. 2 small minions, nothing major. Clean up the rest of the wave. Slight advantage onto Hammy here in the lane. Glaive is really good at sustaining, especially with your captain having that Iron Guard contract available. But there's a pretty sizable lead in the jungle for Archaic, sitting up at 41 CS to just the 28 of Stormy Cross.
Ooh.
Now Hammer's in a very dangerous position.
Yeah, that was a really nice engagement from Rogue. They caught him. Of course, Archaic not even close to be able to help out.
Archaic not close to help out, but he is close to that level 8 spike that we know Celeste should have. So definitely going to be a absolutely huge opportunity for Hammers to really start to get some poke out damage. Obviously, there's no healer available on the side of Rogue, so if Archaic can get some good Heliogenesis down and really zone out the enemy, they can just start chasing down a fight. So we'll probably see the War Treads come out next from Playboy Afro, as it looks like he is building towards that. And again, once Celeste is able to get some poke down, they're going to be able to have absolutely huge engage potential.
Yeah, they absolutely will. Hammer's looking to push it here. There's a nice stun. Ties up the Lyra and going to be deleted. Rogue doing a great job at just taking somebody out of the fight right away. And just like that, they might get the ace. There is a reflex block, but it's going to be too little too late. And Rogue, first ace actually, I believe, of this entire series. And that's going to be an easy turret and gold mine. Huge swing for them.
Yeah, that is a huge swing for them. Again, Stormy Cross to me just performs better on these very melee aggressive junglers, and it's really showing right now. 3-1-2 on Stormy, 100% kill participation for him and Evol.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive here. Hammers, though, still thick in the thick of it, 2,000 gold away. It's not too bad of a distance. Not too bad. And with that,
War Treads are now available for Playboy Afro as well. Again, Hammy has been so good on this glaive so far, getting those afterburns down, stunning Afro
really has.
a wall where he hasn't been able to go anywhere, and it leaves him in a really vulnerable position because the glaive afterburn normally will punch you away, and then the glaive really can't follow up on too much damage. So Hammy's done a great job making sure that every time he's used an afterburn, somebody has really collided with the terrain, really had a difficult time being out of that damage zone from glaive, and it's absolutely huge the amount of damage. Ooh. Oh, starting all over caught out here.
Massive engagement. Yeah, they look to go away, but Starting does get away. Look at the damage comes in. They did delete. Hammy double kill. That Solar Storm was so impressive as Archaic was able to build up enough momentum, enough of those heliogenesis to get the, and that just like that, Rogue is going to get aced. And a reverse by Hammers here within the first couple of minutes to now take a 3-0 in that fight, and that's going to be a turret and a gold mine.
Turret and a gold mine indeed, as well as Starting being able to clear out a little additional farm while he's up here. And then the Ace Wave is also going to keep Hammy busy for a second. Nothing too major, but definitely not going to have the time to come down and contest this gold miner. And just like that, the game that has been even all game long in gold, Hammers finally takes about 1,000 gold lead. So that's looking pretty huge for them.
It is. Another engagement, break it out. There's Stormy Cross goes in really strong. Core Collapse is going to miss as he has to disengage. But Hammy and Stormy Cross are in a very bad position. Hammy's so close to going down. He has to use a reflex block. Unfortunately, not enough to keep him alive. But look at that. Just as we thought it was over, Stormy Cross tries to go back in one more time and pays for it. Oh, man. And it looks like Hammer's not going to stop. Still trying to poke. They're being careful as they are pretty low. Ordained, nicely done to keep the Lyra at bay, but they are going to find the ace. Second ace in a row this game for Hammers. This is starting to be a complete turnaround for them.
It is, and Afro's going to heal himself up with that Imperial Sigil. I think Stormy Cross thought he could go in since there's no fountain for Hammers yet. But again, that burst from the Imperial Sigil just doing absolutely so much work. And now Hammers is looking to find another fight. Starting is dangerously low, but again, look at the absolute massive healing coming out of that burst of Imperial Sigil. Goes from 10% health to 50%, just like that. And Hammers is going to recall now a 3,000 gold lead sitting in their pockets.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right, that extra health really does do a lot. It's really something that super important when you're building a Lyra, to know that it's not just CP that can tie into the health, it's really health items that, if you can increase your base health, you can increase that sigil burst heal.
Yeah, the more health your sigil has, the more health it heals. The nice part about that is the burst healing does not get split amongst your teammates. So if you have all three of your teammates low, you burst an Imperial Sigil onto your entire team, they all get 70% of the healing out of that sigil. So it's not quite the full 100%, but if you use the 100% on all three of the teammates, they're each going to get 33%. So excellent use of it there by Afro. And Hammers is, they were looking pretty iffy in those first couple fights, but they've really brought it back together here. And now they're looking to take this sentry out again. 1 life remaining for that sentry. And Archaic approaching level 12 now is going to be such a huge threat. Here comes Rogue. Stun comes through. Oh, man. A good block by Archaic there. And just like that, that is now a dead Glaive. That is now a dead Blackfeather. And very likely that's going to be a dead Baptiste as well. Hammers finds a third ace this game, sitting up 11-5. And now can very likely push this turret easily with the Celeste and the Vox. So Archaic prepping up some of those heliogenesis. Afro tanking up the damage here. Going to have to drop an Imperial Sigil to heal himself up. As this Ace Wave comes, they should be able to find this turret fairly easily. And Hammy now in a little bit of a dangerous position if he gets stunned. The stun does not come through. But look at the damage coming out of Hammers here, Dragon.
Yeah, they're just able to keep pushing it. They have full health. The Lyra's going to give them the sustain, and Rogue now starting to respect that immensely. not looking to go back in just yet. They do catch an on-point on to start. Almost gets rooted. He does actually get rooted, but is able to break that root after they killed the minion. But starting across on this Black Feather.
Great accuracy on these on-points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great accuracy.
Yeah, he's been able to hit every single one, but unfortunately, I don't think it's enough. Look how they turn on him. He does get another decent amount of damage on starting, but starting survives it, wins the trade, and now, just like that, one by one, they drop.
This might be game. This might be
game.
This
is game, guys. This is game 1. Oh, game 2. I mean, this is it. This is series. Wow. Whew. Hello. But this Hammer's now taking this series 2-0 in an incredible fashion, and this is so big for them. We talked about this. They've got 9 points. With this series win, they now have 11. They're 3 points ahead of Rogue. They have a chance to get even more points, and they have a really good chance to take over even Tempo Storm's points and start beating on the door of Gangstars as well. So, man, just like this, Hammers, the biggest turnaround of all of Vainglory 8 has been this roster.
It has been absolutely an amazing journey for them, starting all over. A huge performance here, 11-3-2 on this box, closing out the game in just 14 minutes.
It's impressive. Yeah,
pretty impressive. And now they have an opportunity going into tomorrow. I believe they play the winner of Gangstars and Tempo Storm. Last I checked in on that game, it was Gangstars up 1-0. But I have not seen.
It looks like, yeah, it looks pretty close, guys. It does look like Tempo's in the lead right now, and of course, there's no Baron on the map, so this crazy comeback is not necessarily as likely. But about a 5,000 gold lead for Tempo Storm right now. That could be going to a 3-game as well. With that, though, everybody, thanks for coming out and watching. You've been watching the Vainglory off-stream match here, powered by VIS, and of course, hosted by myself, Dragonboard, and my co-host, Denomine. Now, Denomine, you did mention that you're going to be casting the Vainglory 8, I think, was it next week?
I might be casting it tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. All right. So
not entirely sure yet. It's up for discussion.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow and catch that, as our very own Denomine. Definitely going to be an exciting time. But just a quick update. Of course, Tempo Storm is up, and they actually are winning another fight. So with the Baron. So that's not a great position for Gangstars. Of course, if that goes to Game 3, that will be a very contested Game 3 for both those two teams. So with that, everybody, good night. Make sure you guys tune over to the Vainglory channel to catch the rest of the action.